So Scorpio, you've come back to join me again. Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au, November 2016, second last month of the year. And of course it is the month of Scorpio, where we see now the sun has returned to your natal position. Now that normally brings with it immense opportunities, a rejuvenation of the spirit, an upswing in the physical well-being as well. But what's more important is this month, well, at the very end of October anyhow, the new moon, which ushered in this month, also happens to be taking place in your sun sign. So that's significant because the new moon has a lot to do with the new cycles. As above, so below. The cycles celestially reflect these changing cycles within terrestrial life. So those of you born under Scorpio will indeed be feeling that there's been some sort of breakthrough, I feel. You know, the lunar body relates a lot to emotions, and being a water sign, this indeed has a lot to say about how you're feeling emotionally about things. I think it would be true to say that this last couple of years for many Scorpios has not been an easy cycle. You've been challenged in a lot of areas. But really the challenges are not what's happening on the outside. The challenges are how well you can rise to the occasion to meet those challenges with the proper spirit, the proper attitude. And that, I think, is key here with this new moon taking place with Mercury, by the way. Mercury, Sun, new moon in your sun sign, giving considerable weight to the sign of Scorpio. Now, the moon being the body that is most closely identified with the emotions, the mother, family life, the mind, being in Scorpio, which is really the deeper, more psychic and intuitive and sexual part of your nature. This is really opening up a lot of that stuff to self-awareness, to self-study and introspection. So what's happened is, I think a lot of you born under the sign of the Scorpion have had ample opportunity now to deeply consider what the ramifications of the events that have happened have been, and you're adapting, you're adjusting to that, and I think you're growing in leaps and bounds as a result of that. With the transit of both your ruling planets, Mars and also Pluto, in your third house of Capricorn, there's definitely also a complete shift in the way you've been thinking about things. Pluto transforms, actually revolutionizes that. So the way you've been negotiating and dealing with people has in fact changed dramatically. And Mars now in the third house is exceptionally good. It's excellent for securing new contracts, getting agreement on things. And what you're finding too is that you don't necessarily have to bend over backwards to appease everyone. You can still secure contracts and agreements without giving everything away. And I think you're going to overcome your fear in that respect by more and more sort of saying, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want. You don't like that? Okay, let's compromise on that. So I think they're the sorts of things that are really, really positive for you at the moment. And we can extend this to your business negotiations as well, where I see some really, really good things happening. Now, your ruling planet will move out of this specific third house area, moving to your fourth house of domestic activities, real estate, family, vehicles, anything that has to do with possessing, owning, or dealing with fixed assets on the 9th of November. And that's interesting because on the 14th we see the full moon taking place in the sign of Taurus, which is, again, an earth sign, the best possible sign for the moon, and in the 7th house of marriage and partnerships. So this is interesting because we see the domestic sphere activated. We see also on that full moon the relationship side of things activated. The moon for you is a very, very positive planet. It elevates the relationship. It brings you closer and more intimately involved in your relationships. If you're married, particularly, this can help revive the relationship. And you recall I mentioned earlier that if we take relationships as a circumstance that have not been going so well for some of you, and the fact that I mentioned it's not so much the thing in itself that's the problem, so much as the attitude that you are bringing to that, then let's extend the reading to that, to say that your attitude is definitely changing, and what you're bringing to the relationship, I think you're getting a deeper understanding that what comes back from any situation is what you're bringing into it, what you're shining into that, what you're delivering to the person is going to be returned back. Of course, that's a general rule. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, that's not always the case, but then you're getting involved in all the complexities of karma and why, I've been a good person all my life and all of these terrible things have happened, so on and so forth. I'm saying generally, to feel good in yourself, it's what you bring to the situation, and that is definitely going to be the case after the 14th, where I feel, at least in terms of your relationships, your business partnerships, there can be an elevation of that and a really feel-good period that's going to start for you at that time. I like the fact that Jupiter continues in your 12th house. Some astrologers would say that that's not a particularly good placement, but the 12th house has to do with your past. It has to do with reminiscing, reevaluating, and reconsidering perhaps what in the past seemed to work but now doesn't work. And that again is a large part of the problem for most people that I've found. Because something works at some point in your life doesn't mean it's always going to work. So Jupiter gives you a spiritualizing of those past events and circumstances, and a reappraisal of how you can modify those things. Well, you can't modify what's happened in the past, but you can certainly adjust what you've learned from those things to apply them to new situations, I think is what I'm saying here. And if you move forward in the next month, next year, next few years with this sort of attitude that I think this new moon is revealing to you this month, then it's going to be good. So I'm pleased to give you that information. I hope you'll join me again next month. These are only brief readings, but at the site astrology.com.au you can always book in for a more personal consultation with me. I'd love to help you work through some of the more detailed personal issues that you may have. And of course we've got loads of other free stuff there, so help yourself and do come back next month. Take care.